The annals of military history are replete with battles that have shifted the course of empires and civilizations. And yes, I know it's annals. I'm sorry. My favorite amongst these significant battles in history is the Battle of Cannae. It holds a distinguished place not merely for the scale of the Roman defeat, for the tactical genius displayed by a little guy known as Hannibal. What do you know about Carthage? What do you know about the Roman Empire? Huh? You're gonna learn. That's right, this is on the second channel. This is an Oompa TV video. Press the like button if you wanna see more stuff like this. I have no idea how we're gonna clickbait this, but this is history. All right, motherfuckers? Brought to you by Sour Boys. Go to sour.gg and buy some natural dye, natural flavored candy that we make ourselves. I would love to make more historical videos. It's actually something I really enjoy. You've heard of the Second Punic War. If not, you've probably never played Total War or learned anything ever or remembered anything that you have been taught. Of the Second Punic War, the most extensively studied battle is the Battle of Cannae. It was studied for its strategic innovations and the profound impact it had on Roman military doctrine. It was the end of the beginning of the Roman Empire, and from this point, it was the beginning of the end of the Carthage. Yeah, I'm really good at this. Firstly, the Second Punic War was a war fought between 218 and 201 BC. It was the second in a trilogy of conflicts between the burgeoning Roman Empire and the established maritime power of Carthage. Not sure if you know about Carthage. You maybe have heard of Hannibal. I'm not sure. The roots of animosity between these two massive powers can be traced back to the First Punic War, which ended in a Roman victory with the loss of Carthage's Sicily, where my family's from. Or whatever, Calabria, Sicily, it doesn't matter. The subsequent Carthaginian expansion into the Iberian Peninsula under the new Barcid dynasty led by Hamilcar Barca and later his son Hannibal. This set the stage for renewed hostilities and a chance to run it back, you know what I'm saying? I apologize for pronouncing words improperly. I was homeschooled. The immediate catalyst for the Second Punic War was Hannibal's attack on Saguntum, a city in Iberia allied with Rome. In 219 BC, Hannibal laid siege to Saguntum, disregarding Roman warnings. The city's fall prompted Rome to demand Hannibal's surrender, which Carthage obviously refused and declared another war. And this, for the time, a very unconventional war. Hannibal, in a move that would become a move of legend, decided to invade Italy by crossing the Alps. If you look at this on a map, it may not seem that crazy, but it was a feat that was deemed nearly impossible. At the time, it was strategic and psychological. They aimed to catch the Romans off guard and inspire confidence among his own troops and potential Italian allies. Look what we can do. We're crazy. Look at us. We're insane. There were hostile tribes of fucking Balkan people. That's scary as shit. Harsh terrain, treacherous paths, steep inclines. Not to mention a fucking logistical This is pre-UPS. How are you supposed to supply your men in the Alps? Have you seen a picture of the Alps? And it's 219 BC. You can't just go to a store. You have to plan. Hannibal did lose around half of his army in crossing the Alps due to skirmishes, accidents, and it being the Alps and the harsh conditions that surround him. He arrived in Italy in 218 BC, and this arrival was considered as a strategic masterstroke. The Romans were completely unprepared for an invasion from the north and were forced to confront a seasoned general on unfamiliar terms. Now, before the Battle of Cannae, there were multiple confrontations. The Battle of Trebia, I don't fucking know, in 218 BC, the Battle of Lake Trasimene, 217 BC, and some more. All right, but these two are the most important pre-Battle of Cannae. In the Battle of Trebia, Hannibal lured the Roman men into a trap, which resulted in a significant Carthaginian victory. And the Battle of Lake Trasimene was one of the largest ambushes in military history. Hannibal trapped and completely annihilated a Roman army under Consul Gaius Flaminius, or whatever the fuck his name was. This loss shook Rome to its core, by the way. It led to the appointment of Quintius Maximus as dictator of Rome. It was pretty bad. By the way, this is pre-Mega Rome. This is like when Rome is still trying to figure its shit out. Still definitely impressive, but still figuring its shit out. So another year later, Rome is flopping, floundering, and fucking freaking out. Hannibal is this guy who's so brave and crazy. Rome decides to adopt some aggressive leadership, I guess, pressured obviously by public opinion and rivals. A few new consuls were elected in Rome, Lucius, Paulus, and Gaius Varro, and as a result of everything going on in regard to Hannibal's march, they amassed the largest army that Rome had ever fielded, approximately 80,000 infantry and 6,000 cavalry, and their aim was to crush Hannibal decisively. Can you imagine this? 80,000 people, 6,000 horses with men on them in the field of battle. That must have been quite a fucking sight. So impressive. I mean, what? The Romans heavily underestimated Hannibal. They believed that their sheer numbers, 80,000 men, 6,000 cavalry, that's incredibly impressive. They believed that that would guarantee a victory. They also ignored the advantages of terrain. Hannibal chose the battlefield near Cannae, which favored his unique tactics. On top of this, it is believed that the Roman tradition of alternating daily command between consuls led to what some would consider inconsistent strategies and weakness before Hannibal. And thus we have the Battle of Cannae, a tactical masterpiece. Hannibal encamped near Cannae, controlling the Roman grain supply and forcing the consuls of Rome to confront him. The flat plains suited Hannibal's cavalry and allowed him to deploy his forces optimally. What is very interesting about this battle is the specific formation of the Carthaginian army and the Roman army. The Roman army was fairly standard, deep columns of heavy infantry aimed at punching through the center of a fighting force, and a cavalry split between the wings. That means, you know, half on either side, essentially. The Roman cavalry was considered inferior in quality compared to the Carthaginian cavalry, and they had less cavalry compared to the Carthaginians. Some of the weakest of the army, the Gauls and Iberians, were arranged in a convex formation in the center of the battle formation, the army, the line, whatever the fuck you want to call it. The flanks were held up by strong African infantry positioned obliquely behind the center, so there's an image of that. Then the cavalry, Numidian cavalry on the right and heavy Iberian and Gaulish cavalry on the left. What the fuck? That sounds awesome. I also mentioned that the Roman army at this time was about 86,000 strong, the largest army that had ever been known for the Roman Empire, and the Carthaginian army sustained losses, and you know they had 50,000 when they crossed the Alps. According to some historical sources, there's a lot of obviously different opinions here, but the general idea in the Battle of Cannae, they had between 40 and 45,000 infantrymen and around 10,000 cavalry. So they had more cavalry than the Romans and about half as many infantrymen. On August 2nd, 216 BC, the engagement began. The first clash was a clash of cavalry, and Hannibal's cavalry swiftly defeated the Roman cavalry on both flanks. It's not 100% sure as to why this happened, and also the consuls, some of the Roman consul were in the cavalry formations and died or fled. After the swift defeat of the Roman cavalry, the Carthaginian cavalry circled behind the Roman infantry, and that's not good. That's actually very bad. The Roman infantry advanced aggressively, which pushed back Hannibal's light and chewy center, and also Hannibal deliberately had his men retreat in a controlled manner, drawing the Romans in, leading a false sense of victory. Oh my God, we're pushing through their lines. Actually, the flanks started to close in. Actually, there was a complete encirclement with Carthaginian Numidian cavalry in the back. Oh my God, dude, this is fucking terrible. Cavalry blocked the only potential Roman escape, and the Roman men were completely surrounded. There was a massacre. After that, Roman soldiers were tightly packed. They were unable to wield their weapons efficiently, and they almost all died. Between 50 and 70,000 Romans died, including a bunch of senators and people who were in politics in Rome. One of the deadliest days in the history of any military. Wild stuff. Hannibal, from this and because of his other escapades, is regarded as a tactical genius. His innovative use of troops, a mix of different ethnic groups, I mentioned Africans, Gaulish people, Iberian folk, psychological warfare. He took advantage of the Roman overconfidence and their rigid tactics. Plus, just seemed like he was super adaptive, all right? But ironically enough, this win did mark the beginning of the fall of Hannibal, and this kind of was what caused Rome to go into overdrive and learn from their mistakes. But for a short period after, there were immediate consequences. Obviously, there was a lot of mourning, a lot of people died, turmoil, political turmoil, a lot of blame was cast upon different people. A lot of Italian cities defected as a result of this, and they switched alliance to Hannibal because, my God, that is the most decisive victory in the history of all military victories. By the way, they lost like 5,000 men, 8,000 men, some shit like that. Hannibal did. Hannibal, after the Battle of Cannae, was urged by his commanders to immediately march on Rome and just decisively take the entire empire, but he chose not to for some reason, maybe logistical reasons, I'm not exactly sure. Maybe he hoped that Rome would surrender, concede, whatever. That didn't happen, and Rome is very well known about and taught about, and Carthage is really not. The Carthaginian Empire is really not. Outside of this very epic battle and Hannibal and his tactical genius, unfortunately, he didn't. Hey, bud, I've been playing Total Rome 2. I got 2,000 hours in that game. Okay, I know all about this shit. By the way, Hannibal wasn't like the king of Carthage, and Carthage was even hesitant to send reinforcements to Hannibal. They could have totally mopped the floor at this point, in my opinion, but what the f do I know? Nothing. All I know is that this is one of the craziest battles in military history, and I hope you guys enjoyed learning about it, hearing about it. So anyways, thank you all for watching. If you want to see more stuff, go to gumpclub.com, get some free shipping on Sour Boys, go to sour.gg, buy some candy. I'll see you in the next video.